is time for new goals. For many, that means the goal of parenthood. But for some, it's not so easy. 1 in 8 couples in the U.S. experience infertility. And today we're going to separate fact from fiction in order to increase your chances of achieving your goal. Nicole Witt is Executive Director of the Adoption Consultancy, and she has helped hundreds of families complete the adoption process. She's also a former infertility patient and leader of an infertility support group. Okay, Nicole, welcome back to Daytime.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's play myth or fact.
Yes.
First, myth or fact. It is inappropriate to ask parents if they used fertility treatment to conceive.
Right.
Myth or fact?
This one is a fact.
Okay.
So people have different reasons for asking. Sometimes they have concerns. Sometimes they're just being nosy. Sometimes they're trying to get some information for themselves. But it's never appropriate. It's like asking somebody how or where they conceived their child, right? So if they want to share, they will. Otherwise, just tell them how beautiful their family is.
Okay. Don't have to go into the details of how that all came about. Okay, number 2. Birth parents can change their mind and reclaim a child that they've previously placed for adoption.
Right. This
Myth
is
or fact?
a big myth, and we're talking about domestic adoption. And, of course, states have different laws in terms of when birth parents can sign the consent forms and when they're irrevocable. But talking about once their rights have been terminated, they can't simply change their mind. And a lot of people who are thinking about adoption are scared of that. They hear these horror stories of that happening, but legally that can't happen.
Okay, good. Number 3, domestic adoption is faster and easier than international adoption. I've heard that. Myth or fact?
Yes, these days, that's a fact. Now, it hasn't always been the case, and it may not be a few years from now, but right now you have some of the traditionally very large programs are shut down. Russia, Guatemala, Vietnam, all closed.
Okay.
China has a several-year wait time. So these days, domestic adoption is much quicker.
I'm looking at a chart right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also less expensive because both types of adoption run about the same cost-wise, but then when you factor in international travel, international gets a lot more expensive. So
what is the average cost of a domestic adoption these days?
It ranges depending on a lot of factors, but I would say it can be anywhere between $25,000 to $45,000.
Okay. Number 4, in vitro fertilization almost always works.
Yes.
Fact or myth?
Sadly, this is a pretty big myth. A lot of people think that it does. A lot of people go through a lot of fertility treatments and then they figure, okay, well, let's just invest in this. We're finally going to do it. We're going to spend the money. We know it's going to work. And then they're shocked when it doesn't. And the CDC states that less than 50% of IVF cycles are successful. So it's just something people need to know, need to factor into their decision making and maybe have some thoughts towards a next step if it doesn't work.
Okay. Is it helpful to adopt kids from countries that have experienced a recent disaster, such as Syria, or such as back when Haiti experienced their earthquake? Is it helpful to do that?
That's also a myth. That it's a myth that it's helpful to do that.
Okay.
And so many people have only the best of intentions, right? They want to help these children. They want to grow their family, and they think that that's a good thing to do. But in so many cases, it's really hard to ascertain, which children have actually been orphaned, which might have family members that haven't been located or identified yet.
Right.
So many organizations recommend that countries in those situations actually halt international adoptions for between 18 to 24 months till everything can kind of get sorted out.
Okay. And finally, it's impossible for singles, gay people, and or older people to adopt.
Yes, fortunately, that's a myth.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
With domestic adoption, there aren't requirements about marital status or age or sexual orientation. Some agencies might put rules on that, but legally speaking, that's not the law.
Okay.
It can be harder for them to get selected by birth parents. Sometimes they have to be more flexible. But in my work as an adoption consultant, I work with people in those categories successfully all the time.
Okay, and I'm just going to wrap it up with surrogate mothers do not have the legal rights to the baby after they birth the child.
That is true.
Okay.
Contracts are properly done.
Gotcha. Okay, Nicole Witt from the Adoption Consultancy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.